So this isn't an actual conversation on any of these matters. This is just kind of like you wanted to reach out and kind of preach.
Trying to find out if NATO supporters, such as both of you, are ignorant or evil.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. Okay. Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead.
Define evil.
The opposite of the good.
Define good.
The opposite of evil. Hello, this is Gonzalo Lira speaking to you live, and this is the Roundtable, episode number 40. Today, I am talking to NATO supporters, Destiny and Lazerpig. I think it's going to be a very exciting show. I've been really looking forward to this broadcast. I'm going to bring on my guests in just a little bit, but I wanted to give a brief introduction so that you know why I'm so interested in talking to NATO supporters. Because as you've seen in my previous roundtables, most of the people are highly critical of NATO and how it's conducted this war. And so I figured that I ought to bring in, people on the other side of the coin, as it were. And so here I am. And I had looked far and wide, and finally all I did was just tweet about it. And Destiny and Lazerpig were gracious enough to agree to come on the show. And like I said, I'm going to bring them on in just a little bit. But the first thing I wanted to say are a couple of things that have come up, unfortunately, with both Destiny and Lazerpig's audiences, that many NATO supporters think that I'm lying about what has happened to me and where I'm at, okay? They believe that I have lied about being arrested back in April 15th of 2022. I was arrested on the 15th and held incommunicado for a week. And a lot of people, NATO supporters, say that this is just, I made it up and it was just an attention, a way to get attention and so forth and so on. Well, I just want to say that to those people who believe that I have shown the documentary evidence of my situation to other content creators, specifically Alex Christoforou, and also my personal attorneys and other personal people. But insofar as the online world is concerned, Alex has seen my documentation of my arrest. So, and also Braving Ruin, but Braving Ruin has dropped out of sight insofar as the internet, which is a pity, but anyway. So Alex Christoforou has that documentation, okay? And insofar as that experience is concerned, I was interrogated a few times. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't pleasant, but, it is what it is. And they were doing what they were ordered to do, so I bear them no ill will. The SBU, if you don't know, is the State Security Services of Ukraine. It's sort of like the FBI, CIA rolled up into one, insofar as Ukraine is concerned. And, it was not pleasant, let's leave it at that. But they were doing what they had been ordered to do, and I was doing as my conscience dictated, okay? But the important thing is that there is documentary proof of my being held and arrested and interrogated and all the rest of it. At this time, I'm not releasing it. Once this conflict is over, no problem. The other thing that a lot of NATO supporters insist on is that I'm not in Kharkov. And they keep insisting that I show video of where I live, of like the skyline of the city, okay? Now, the fact is I am in Kharkov, and I have repeatedly shown to different content creators who have come on my show various landmarks of the city of Kharkov that prove indisputably that I'm here in the city. I mean, landmarks that I can see from my apartment. And so I've proved it to those people, okay? And they can say it. Just about all the guests I've had, I've shown it to them. I mean, Clint Ehrlich, Alex Christoforou, Brian Berletic, I mean, the usual suspects. So they know that, I'm here. And I even showed them one of the great picture that I took, because the building next to my own in early September was hit by a missile, a Russian missile. And I got this perfect shot of it, right? Because the missile hit a building next to my own building, but on the other side, because my apartment faces in one direction and the building that was hit was on the opposite direction. So nothing happened to my apartment, but the stairwell, because the electricity got cut, okay? And so you had to go up and down the stairs. And on the stairwell, I saw the picture, this huge hole, and I took a picture of it. It was a great picture, and I can't share it because it shows the Kharkov skyline. It would be no trick at all to triangulate where I am. And I can't afford to do that, see? I don't want to reveal my location publicly. I don't want to give any kind of video or photographic evidence that would help people figure out where I am because of a very simple reason. And the simple reason is this. This is the Mirotvorets hit list, okay? And a lot of people who troll me want me very badly to reveal my location. Now, the Mirotvorets list that you're seeing right here, this is a, and let me just scroll a little so you can see it's a real thing. And I can't, unfortunately, put this link in the description right now while I'm live, but as soon as the show is over, I'll put it up, so you'll see it there. Anyway, the point of this, you know what I can do? While we're here, I can just clip the link and post it in chat so that you can all see it for yourselves and know that I'm not making this up, okay? Just posted it on the chat. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up is that, there are a lot of people who would like to kill me, see? Because this list, the so-called peacemaker list, is a list of people who are considered unfriendly to the Zelensky regime. And these people who are considered unfriendly, well, they are being encouraged to be, they are fomented to kill these people. And there are all kinds of people here. I mean, there's everybody from Vladimir Putin to Sergei Lavrov, who I don't think are really worried about this list, to people in the United States, people like Scott Ritter, people like Eva Bartlett. I mean, a whole bunch of people. And I'm on it too. I've been on it since June. And I'm not particularly concerned about the SBU, because the SBU knows exactly where I'm at, and the SBU realizes that I'm just a middle-aged YouTuber who presents no threat to them at all. On the contrary, I'm much more problems for them than it's worth their time, because I'm not, a military guy or intelligence guy. I'm just commenting shit, and there's like a lot of different people in several different countries where I have residency who'd be very pissed off if I just vanished, right? But there are a lot of crazies who'd love to knock me off. You go on this website, right? And whenever somebody on this website is assassinated, they put an X and they celebrate it. Now, why am I bringing up this site? Well, because you see, this site, the internet being what it is, 4chan and Poll being who they are, they trace the IP address of this website. And you know where the IP address led to? It led to NATO headquarters in Brussels. See? And so you see my situation. NATO is
what did he just
essentially
say?
specifically
what?
targeting me for assassination.
Wait, I haven't been listening.
Man. I mean,
can we just pull up the IP of the site? Can somebody do like a DNS lookup and see where the IP
everybody
is?
on this list dead.
Because I'm almost 99% sure he's just lying.
Is being run out of Brussels, out of NATO headquarters there. Okay, and so I have a vested interest in knowing what people, how can I put this? Let me rephrase this. I have a vested interest in NATO, and I have a vested interest in making it clear what NATO is actually doing, because they actively
it goes
want
to
me
Cloudflare.
dead. I mean, if they didn't,
how could he possibly know the IP address?
List. If they didn't, they wouldn't be hosting this website, encouraging people to assassinate any and all names on this website. See?
There are no zero days. There's not any weird shit about Cloudflare where you can look up an IP behind Cloudflare, right? Can you?
To stuff and don't really care. So I'm figuring that most NATO supporters
are there known vulnerabilities?
Are ignorant about what NATO is up to, right? I mean, that seems to be reasonable.
No, okay.
That
He's just making shit up
about what NATO is about. Or it could be that they're not ignorant. They actually know what NATO is up to. And so since they know what NATO is up to, then what's really going on is that, see, they're evil. And they know about this list, about the targeted assassinations, and they know that, what you call it, what NATO is really up to. Okay, so I figure it'd be interesting to have a discussion with my two guests to figure out if they are ignorant or not. Now let me bring on my guests right now. My guests are Destiny, Stephen Bonnell. How's it going? Good to see you. And here we have Lazerpig. Lazerpig, how's it going? Good to meet you finally.
Why, hello.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. Stephen, how are you? It's been a long time since you and I have spoken. Stephen and I have known each other since nothing specific. We've just, sort of like shared the same space on YouTube, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, hey, what's up?
How's it going? Good to see you. Oops, hang on a second. Let me just, before we get to that, because the thing is, I want to do this conversation with you both as NATO supporters, because you both are.
Can I just interrupt you?
Wait, hang on. Yeah, you'll have plenty of time. And in fact, I'm going to wind down, and you guys will be able to talk all you want. But I just want to say a few things before I get derailed. See, what we're going to do is that we're going to have like a structured conversation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up on screen a series of statements, and they're very simple statements, and they're not kind of like gotcha statements or anything like that. Nothing like minutia or depending on obscure information. No, it's going to be very straightforward questions.
I see this Twitter link.
And they're
this is just
false statements. And I'd really like to listen to what you guys have to say. So go ahead, Lazerpig. You wanted to say?
Oh wait! Oh my God! Before Lazerpig, actually, can I just ask like 2 questions real quick? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Because that intro was something else. The that website, you said it traces back to NATO?
Yeah.
How can you do that?
Well, I don't know the specifics of that, but it has been, and it's been confirmed repeatedly by different people who know what they're doing.
Can I
I specifically got somebody that I know on tech to figure it out, and they were like, yeah, it goes back to, and he listed the IP addresses and the whole shebang. So yeah,
gotcha.
If you want, I can send you that information. It'd have to be a separate email.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. I only wanted to say real quick before we hop on everything, and then Elizabeth, you can go. That website, I did a DNS lookup because I was curious. It's hosted on Cloudflare. You're never pulling an IP address off that website.
I don't know how it was done.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just saying, I see on Twitter where somebody has linked the site back to NATO URL. I'm looking at it right now. All they did was they did an inspect element, and they're looking at a link to a video on the site, and the link to that video might go to a NATO website, but the site itself is not hosted on NATO. If it's a Cloudflare domain, you'd never be able to look it up. But,
if that's what you think, that's perfectly fine. But I have independent corroboration, and I can send it to you. So there we go. Okay, Lazerpig, you wanted to say something?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Good. It's great to have you on. It was very
I've been told to make myself a little bit louder. I have perhaps been drinking a little bit too much over the past few days, and I have a bit of a sore throat, but I have some tea here, so that's quite nice. But I want to ask you a question. I'd rather take objection to you calling me pro-NATO. I've never ever stated that I'm pro-NATO. I don't think I've ever mentioned that I'm pro-NATO. I don't think I've ever stated it anywhere that I'm pro-NATO. I'm not pro-NATO. I'm pro-Ukraine.
So you're pro-Zelensky regime?
I'm pro-Ukraine, and I'm pro...
No. I said specifically pro-Zelensky regime or anti-Zelensky regime?
I'm pro-Zelensky regime.
Then you're pro-NATO.
Okay.
Because the Zelensky regime is allied with NATO, and that's pretty obvious, and so there's that.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, I'm just going to go outside. I'm muting my camera just to step outside and smoke a cigarette. So go ahead.
Okay, well, I would disagree that being pro-Ukraine is also
the Zelensky regime is allied with NATO. The Zelensky regime is getting weapons from NATO. The Zelensky regime is getting private military contractors from NATO. The Zelensky regime has begged to be a part of NATO, and NATO is supplying it with everything it can at this time. So to say that you are pro-Zelensky means that you are pro-NATO.
Right. Okay, that's... That's an interesting stance to take, but I'm going to state that I am not pro NATO. I'm pro Ukraine. I'm pro
So you
people
suffer
fighting for
from,
the
you
sovereignty
are
of their own
clearly,
nation
you're
against a
clearly-
fascist regime intent on their extermination. If or not you believe that, I do
Okay.
not give a shit about NATO. I will not have my position dictated to me. I know who I am. I know what I believe.
You are supporting NATO. You are a
I
NATO
am
supporter.
supporting
So that's
Ukraine.
that.
I'm here to talk
You
about
are,
Ukraine, and I
if
will
you
speak on
cared
Ukraine.
about
and I will.
Ukraine, you'd be interested in peace. But you're not interested in peace. You're interested in more war. You're pro-NATO, period.
Well, can we to bridge the two here? Like, is it not possible to support one side without supporting every single party supporting that side?
No, I mean,
That's not the
Mr.
issue.
I'm
He
sorry.
says
Is
that he's
it?
pro-Ukraine. I'm pro-Ukraine. I want the devastation to end as quickly as possible. But of course, NATO wants to prolong it, and he seems to be very happy with that. So therefore, he is pro-NATO and pro-war and pro-killing Ukrainian people.
Well, I think.
And
Well,
the
well,
destruction of the Ukrainian nation.
Well, wait, hold on, because hold on. Jeez, I'm sorry. It's early. I'm trying to figure out.
Before we get into that, let's
Wait, are we going to have an
I'm
actual
sorry.
discussion, or is it going to be all
Yes,
memes?
we're going to have an actual discussion that's structured as I see fit.
Okay,
That's
but then like
how
I think we can
do
like
it.
walk through point to point. We don't have to be like, well, he's pro-Ukraine,
Okay,
so he's
the first
pro-NATO,
thing
so he
that we're
wants to
gonna
kill
talk
Ukrainians.
about-
We
the
are
first
gonna do
thing that
this.
we're going to talk about, and if I have to mute you because you keep interrupting, I'll mute you. The first thing we're going to talk about is true or false. The Kiev regime was doing nothing to provoke Putin into invading Ukraine. Putin's invasion was groundless. Putin has imperial ambitions and is inherently evil. Is this true or false?
We can only answer with one word for these are really loaded statements.
Yeah, I can
Well,
agree
go ahead,
here.
answer them. They're very clear. True or false?
I mean, Destiny, do you want to take this one, or shall I take the flag here?
Well, I mean, like, we're using conjunctions here in ways that are pretty complicated. I mean, like, you can argue that there are a lot of things that a country could do
True,
that could
false.
kind of...
These are very simple statements, Stephen. If you can't answer them,
Bro, we're talking
then
about
clearly
like
you don't want to answer them. Because
these
you
are
know
really
the answer is
these
something
are
that's gonna
really
hurt your position.
these are complicated geopolitical
Did
issues. You can't do a true or
regime
false.
provoke Putin into invading Ukraine? Yes or no? This is simple.
No.
It did not provoke Putin into invading Ukraine. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. Laserpig? Did the Kiev regime do anything to provoke Putin into invading Ukraine? Yes or no?
Well, let's say, for the moment, let's play devil's advocate
Yes
here.
or no?
Let's
the
play
Kiev
devil's
regime was
advocate
doing
here.
nothing to provoke Putin into invading Ukraine. Yes or no? It's simple, Laserpig. Answer the question.
Are you going to let me talk, or are you going to scream at me like a child?
I'm asking you a straightforward question. It's simple.
No,
Yes or
I'm
no?
sorry. You invited me here under the premise that I would have my chance to speak, and you would not interrupt me, and this
Okay,
would be
go
a
ahead.
civilized discussion.
Go ahead.
Are you sure? I'm going to speak, and you're not going to interrupt me, are you? Good. So let's take the stance that the Kiev regime, the Zelensky regime, I love that word regime. Let's take that that they have provoked this. That they have done something to provoke Putin. About 7,000 civilians, Ukrainian civilians, have died. Many of those Russian birth or with Russian heritage. Exactly how does their death, how does the targeting of civilians, wholesale slaughter of civilians,
That's a lie.
justify?
They have not been targeted. They have not been targeted
How does that
specifically. I'm here in the country to
justify
know
what
that
Putin
that
is
is not
doing?
accurate. That is a lie.
Are we allowed to just go out and murder civilians because, oh no, Putin's feelings, everybody, he's a bit intimidated by NATO. Oh no. One
Why
of the
don't you tell me
richest
about the
people on the planet is a
16,000
little bit scared, so therefore he
Why
can
don't you
go
tell
out
me
and
about
kill
the
people out he wants.
16,000 killed by the Zelensky and Poroshenko regime in the period 2015 to 2022? Why don't you tell me about those 16,000 killed by the Kiev regime in the past 7 years?
Lyra, am I allowed to go outside with a shotgun and start killing Christians because I'm a bit threatened by the Westboro Baptist Church?
Is it true or false that the Kiev regime has been constantly shelling the Donbass region before the conflict started on February 24th, and that in total 16,000 Ukrainians were killed by the Kiev regime in the Donbass?
Shelling the Donbass? The vast majority of all of the shelling that's happened has occurred on the border where all the fighting is. They're not shooting like deep into Donetsk.
This was before. Number one, that's a lie, because currently the Kiev regime, the Zelensky regime, is shelling the city of Donetsk.
Wait, why are you saying, you're saying currently, but before you were talking 2014 to 2022. You can see maps of where all of the artillery, you can see, well, let me finish, can I please finish my, can I finish my one sentence? You can go right now and you can Google, shell strike map Donbass, or you can Google artillery strike map Donbass or whatever, and you can see where all of the the shells have fallen. They're all on the border where the conflict is happening. Ukraine is not firing arms into these cities.
Donetsk, in the middle of the city of Donetsk, where there are no military, it's only civilians, and they continue doing this during the conflict. That's what the Kiev regime has been doing. Now, before the conflict started, for the 7 years between 2015 and 2022, the Kiev regime was indiscriminately shelling the Donbass region, resulting in the deaths of 16,000 civilians. So, Lazerpig, you're talking about 7,000 casualties, civilian casualties during the current conflict, but you're neglecting the 16,000 that were indiscriminately butchered by the Kiev regime. Why don't you talk about that, Lazerpig? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, I love the fact that we're not even half an hour into this discussion and you're already trying to force this black and white fallacy on us. I mean, you've answered the question, right? That said, ignore evil. That is false. Putin did not invade Ukraine because of that. He might have.
What?
He might have claimed that he did.
Okay.
If you give me 2 seconds here, I mean, because it's. Sorry, I had something written down here. Yeah, because the thing is, as Russian tanks were massing on the border of Ukraine, just prior to this invasion, Putin did this
in 2015, in 2016, and 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and the first months of 2022. 16,000 people were killed by the Kiev regime, even though there was supposed to be a ceasefire brokered by the Minsk II agreements.
Those ceasefires were violated. Oh, this is such a shit show.
It was not violated by the Russians.
It was violated by both sides. Nobody held
shelling their own people.
Nobody held to either of the Minsk Accords. For these 16,000 dead numbers, are you trying to claim that these are all civilians? Just curious, so I can get an understanding of this.
As I understand it, yes, it is. As I understand it, something like 900 of them were children under the age of 10.
Okay, the idea that all of these were children, that all of these were civilians is not true. I don't know where you've even pulled that from. Even the 16,000 number is a bit high. Well, you say, okay.
So you're denying the reporting on the ground of people who have been there and have watched the shelling, the indiscriminate shelling of civilian areas by the Kiev regime from 2015 to 2022.
It's an active civil war that's being supported on the Russian side. Of course, there are going to be casualties.
There was the Minsk II agreement
that were violated by both sides. The Minsk II agreements were violated by both sides. They were never the Minsk II agreements. I think barely even got off the ground.
Did Russia violate the sovereignty of Ukraine prior to February 24th, 2022? Yes.
Yes, by invading Crimea and stealing the Crimea Peninsula. Yes.
That was in 2014.
Yes, you said before 2022. So yes.
Okay, fair enough. Between 2015 and 2022, did they do so?
Yes, they did, by having active military members on the ground in the Donbass, which is internationally recognized, including
private military contractors and NATO personnel that were in Ukraine.
No, those were actual Russian troops, and Putin has since admitted that.
Part of that 16,000 dead includes.
Where? I'd love to see that.
Part of that 16,000 dead includes actual Russian troops on the ground. And yes, of course,
really?
they call it a.
Show
they call. What? Do you want to see the bodies?
No, show me. Show me some evidence. You're making a claim that everybody who knows the conflict, and I know the conflict because I am here, everybody who knows this conflict knows that that's a lie.
Have you gone and looked at all the troops?
OHCHR report. You can look at the UN report, and it will from 2014 to 2016, it will dictate 3,000 civilian deaths on both sides.
Okay, so the issue is to return to the structure of this. Putin invaded Ukraine, and these are true false. Putin invaded Ukraine because, number one, the constant shelling of ethnic Russians in the Donbass since 2014. Number 2, the Kiev regime figures, calling for the ethnic cleansing of all Russians from the Donbass and Ukraine generally. Number 3, NATO expansion into Ukraine with the likelihood of nuclear weapons on Russia's doorstep, which was considered an existential threat by the Russians. Is any of these statements false?
Yes.
All of them are false.
Which
yes.
one?
Constant
That's not
shelling of
true.
ethnic Russians in the Donbass, that statement is so misleading that it is false.
That is true.
Kiev
It's
regime
true.
figures
It's
calling for
true.
ethnic
It's
cleansing of
true.
all
Just you
Russians,
saying
that is
it's
also
misleading
false.
does not make it
NATO
false.
expansion into Ukraine with the likelihood of nuclear weapons on Russia's doorstep. I mean, the Baltics
Yes,
are in NATO. We don't have
in
nuclear weapons up
January
there,
of
so that's also false. So
2022
all
at
3 of these
Munich,
statements are false.
Zelensky.
Do you want us to answer, or is this just like you giving a lecture?
Because I know, and you're lying.
Oh, well. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. Why am I
sorry,
even here
I'm
to
too
talk if
sober
you're
for
just going to
this.
say that I'm lying? What's the point of this?
Because you are lying.
Wait, okay, I'm just curious. What is the point of this conversation? Just talk to me, human to human.
This point of my conversation is to determine whether you are ignorant or evil. That's the point of this conversation.
Okay, so this isn't an actual conversation on any of these matters. This is just kind of like you wanted
This
to
is
reach out
me
and kind of
trying
preach.
to find out if NATO supporters, such as both of you,
Mm-hmm.
are ignorant or evil.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead.
Define evil.
The opposite of the good.
Define good.
The opposite of evil.
Okay. I'm not really sure where to go with that. It is the
Are
it
any
is
of
the
these
way
statements
it is the way
false?
it is because it is the way it is, and I say it the way it is. You know. Therefore, I define evil as a duck because a duck is evil.
Okay. Did Kiev
Because
regime
ducks
figures
reproduce
call
by
for the ethnic
fucking
cleansing
raving each
of
other.
all
Therefore, that is
Russians
evil.
from
Therefore,
Donbass?
evil is ducks. I'm not a duck. Therefore,
Is-
I'm not evil.
Did the Kiev regime figures call for the ethnic cleansing of all ethnic Russians from the Donbass and Ukraine generally? Yes or no?
No.
okay.
Yes, they did.
Lazerpig,
There
I love
are
you, buddy.
videos of people of,
Good
the,
luck with
of
this.
the right sector.
But
If you quit,
I don't know if he's been
quit
knocked out a few
because you
times
can't
and he's
stand
having
it,
some stroke
if you can't
issues or
stand the
what,
heat,
but I think
that's
he's got
your
some.
problem.
I think he's got some problems going on there
I'm
neurologically.
gonna.
but
I have got problems.
I have my own.
These
problems.
are
I'm
internet
gonna
blood
be
sports
completely honest with
rules,
you.
Destiny.
The
The guy who
thing
rage
is,
quits is the guy who loses.
okay, well,
The thing
it
is-
looks like I'm the loser here. I think stepping into this call made me a loser, so I'm sorry, my dude. Good luck. Don't get killed. You know.
I
Have fun.
have been.
Okay, this is why would I let him just say random retarded shit in front of my audience for an hour or two? How stupid. I didn't know it was going to be that stupid. Jesus Christ. That was worse than was it worse than Hinkle? I feel like there's a certain type of no, I shouldn't say. I don't say there's a certain type of like Russian propagandist that like does this, but I don't know if it's Russian or maybe like other people do it. And I just haven't noticed it as much. But like, it's just really weird. You make like statements that are probably not true, and then you like never argue anything, and you just like repeat the same shit like dogmatically over and over again.